All right, friends, we're back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. It is Location Weekly, and it's episode number 554. We're recording live on February the 1st. Yes, it's a new month, new energy in the dead of winter, but all is good. How are you, Aubriana?
I am great. Happy to be here with you. How are you doing?
Doing okay. Yeah, it's kind of like that. February is like to me that month where like you just sort of hunker down and try and get through and crank out a lot of work and look forward to the spring when conferences are happening and things are moving again and whatnot. But we have a big LBMA announcement coming up on February 15th. We're going to be announcing sort of the new relaunch of the LBMA, our new strategy, and kind of what we're doing in the next year and beyond. So lots of changes. So tune in for that on February 15th. There's a link up on the LBMA website if you want to register. It's a live streamed event. Yeah, and I'll be out in Germany with hanging out with Karsten as we do that. So yeah.
Super exciting stuff. Have to stay tuned.
Yeah.
I don't know. February has been a month for getting out for me because, well, it will be. We just went sledding this weekend, which was technically still January, but it was fun, as being like a new or back in the Northeast after many years away and back with children this time. It's like a lot of fun. And then we have plans. Hopefully nothing cancels them this time 2 years later, but to head to Dominican Republic later this month for a little family vacation and some warmth. So I am, looking forward to that for sure.
Awesome. That'll be good.
Yeah.
That will be good. Alrighty. Well, we've got the usual four stories for you guys this week, so I'll let Aubriana kick us off.
All right. So here's a fun one. Google is getting sued over deceptive location tracking. And this, came out not too long ago, I would say like 10 days or less. And really, you've got, a few states that are in on this. We've got Washington, D.C., Texas, Washington State, and Indiana, and they are announcing this new lawsuit. And this is really alleging that Google has deceived their users by collecting location data, even when users have believed that that kind of tracking was disabled through their devices. So this is being led by DC Attorney General Karl Racine, and he's just stating really that the truth is very contrary to Google's representation, and that it's continuing to use the systems to surveil customers and profit from our data. So this is happening, they're saying, both via Google Apps as well as obviously the Android devices in that operating system. So excuse me. Okay, so this happened and started getting investigated back after Associated Press had reported back in 2018 that it had found, the Google Apps and the Android iOS location data, this, all of this occurring. And so now, they are saying that, this was coordinated with computer science team from Princeton to verify their findings. And this led, of course, to where we are today. And this is, coming on the heels after several other lawsuits that have been announced around maybe their advertising practices being a little bit dirty and not straightforward. And I shouldn't say a little, like pretty blatantly. And this was, the state of Texas brought this on with 15 other states, inclusive of Puerto Rico. And they had filed this suit against Google for antitrust abuses as well in the online ad market. And then recently, the Southern District of New York just unsealed the complaint. So there's lots of, interesting details there to read. And this is the third amended complaint of that type. So, there's a lot of stuff that's happening here, around location data. And if you think that doesn't lead into their profitability and control on the market and advertising, then, wake up. I think this is concerning. This is concerning because Google has a place in almost every single person's life these days. If you have a connected device of any type, whether you're streaming YouTube, whether you're using it for navigation and wayfinding or simply for search, they know more about you and I than we know about ourselves most days. So I think that, this is very concerning to me. And it's also concerning not only on a personal level, but for the industry. These are the things that we are constantly making conversations about, right? And making a stance on to say there has to be a value add to the consumers, and not saying there's not a value add. There's immense value in a lot of the services that Google does offer to us as consumers, but we need transparency, and we need, there needs to be an exchange and a trust. And I'm not sure that that's continuing. It seems like the trust is being broken, and it gives me a lot of pause. So I don't know. That's the facts that I have here that I've, kind of pulled together. But what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all know that transparency is kind of what we've been striving for in the industry overall when it comes to location data. And I think you touched on the most important piece is their value being provided in exchange for that the use of that data. And I think there is for a lot of the things that Google does. And they've come back in response to this this set of lawsuits saying that they've updated their data retention practices, and they give people the ability to automatically delete their data for set time periods. You can set it to 3 months or 18 months or whatever. And it will kind of wipe your data from their servers and those kinds of things. But I think at the end of the day, more needs to be done by Google and and like companies around making that language and how those options are available to the average consumer very clear, very transparent, very easy to understand. Because I don't think that it's necessarily like, if I had to go find how to do that, I don't think it's like just right there for me to do it, right? And I think that's some of the challenges I see with this. And so I think the lawsuit is somewhat fair in the sense that it's not easy for people to be able to kind of withdraw themselves from this or understand the language of how it's presented on how you get access to be able to withdraw from being tracked and things like that. So to me, that like it's those nuances that are at the heart of this kind of a discussion. So at the end of the day, this is not the first time Google's been sued for this type of thing. And they managed to survive and continue to go, and the same will happen again, I believe. So so that's all I got to say about that one.
Totally right.
All right. Yeah. So moving from one behemoth in Google to another, our second story is about Apple. This one's very interesting to me because Apple's announced now that they are going to enable your iPhone to become a payment terminal. And so the thinking here is, they're going head to head with platforms like Square. And so, if you have an Apple iPhone device, you're used to, things like Apple Pay, and you can enable that and go, to a place that accepts Apple Pay and tap your phone using near field communications to facilitate that payment transaction. Now what we're talking about essentially is kind of using that same near field capability in an iPhone to do the reverse, where your phone is the payment terminal and somebody can tap their card on your phone and facilitate a payment to you. And so this is quite handy for anybody who's familiar with using Square devices or things like that, taxi cab drivers, food truck operators, anybody like that, that's providing services and trying to collect payment, especially in a mobile environment, where you're on the road. So I think this is really interesting. It's built upon an acquisition. Actually, Apple acquired a Canadian company back last in 2020 called MobiWave for about $100 million. And they're the ones who sort of created this technology. Then Apple's kind of evolving it from that core technology that they acquired. So it's not available yet. The sort of thinking right now is that this may be available as part of iOS 15.4, which is coming out later this year. And I think this could be a game changer for a lot of businesses, for a lot of small businesses. The company that owns Square is their stock dropped on this announcement almost 4% the other day. So it's I think it has big ramifications, and it's sort of about time too, right? Because Samsung's already been doing this using the same MobiWave technology before Apple acquired it. They had licensed that technology from the same Canadian startup and had built that into their devices. And so Apple's kind of playing a little bit of catch up here, but I think it's a significant blow to players like Square. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. One, I like this from a seamlessness aspect. I was thinking back to the early days of, the little plugins that you put into the headphone jack to like swipe credit cards on your phone, and how you would have an app, whether that was PayPal or even Square. And a lot has changed, and we have progressed a lot. And I do think this is a very seamless use case, right? You think about small businesses, those candle makers and soap, creators and all of those things, they have these pop-up shops, and typically they do have a Square or a Venmo or something like that. Yeah. But the application of just simply and seamlessly using what you already have, I think makes a lot of sense. I'm very interested to see how is Square going to continue in terms of like, what is the value that it offers, beyond really what it has for so long. And with this new opportunities, just to go straight to the device and not needing kind of another extra set of hardware, nor, having to maybe, I don't know if there's like fees or something that they can do to undercut what's happening here. But I like this. I think that it makes complete sense. So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go to the retail front, and SavageXFenty, which if you are not familiar with this, is Rihanna's more lingerie type of brand that she launched a few years ago. And they are getting into some interesting technology. So they are launching in-store fitting technology. It's powered by a company called FitMatch. And they are doing this in their first brick and mortar location, and they have plans to expand the solution across its channels over the upcoming year. But what's also interesting is they have additionally invested in FitMatch as a company to accelerate this expansion and the AR technology and the growth there. Looked into it a little bit. So the CEO and founder is Hanif Brown, and he is a first generation Jamaican immigrant. So maybe, Rihanna's keeping it in the Caribbean here. But, he's really driven by how he wants to help retailers and brands grow and scale their businesses through this technology. And I think this is really interesting. They're using body scans from Apple devices that are equipped with LiDAR, and it'll analyze your body, right? Create this body shape, and then find this kind of personal replicate of your body, or a fit twin from this unique data set and database that's created by and for each retailer. So this twin is kind of based on like what your profile is like, an actual person that functions as this kind of personal shopper, if you will, to say what sizes, what styles may fit you best. So I love this. Just first of all, like the idea of having to go somewhere and try something on it's taxing, right? We want the convenience, but we also know, especially as women, that when we try things on, like it is complicated. It's not super simple. And so shopping online, as much as we want to do it, sometimes has a lot of challenges and a lot of returning. I'll get like a little bit personal here. So there's another company called Cup, CUUP, and it is an online, lingerie undergarment brand for women. I mean, I guess men too, if that's your thing, but they have virtual assistants. So you can do like a Zoom call where they help you determine fit. They go through the measurement process, but that's a little personal, and I did it. And it was like, you had to get this, you want to get things right. You want to be comfortable, right? And this is so much better. Like if you can have something that has the technology, because sometimes even a measuring tape and maybe somebody looking at you doesn't account for, where certain things fit and what looks best on your figure, and I love that this is like taking technology. It's very personal, it's very intimate, but yet there's not necessarily having to like stand in front of a camera in your skivvies in front of a stranger. Like that's, we do it, but it's a little awkward. So I really like this. I think that there is so much opportunity beyond just, women's lingerie, but like what a great place to start. So I'm excited to see how this brand and as well as this technology continues to advance with other retailers.
Yeah, I really like this. I think it's a great use of sort of pretty innovative technology here. Obviously it's only the latest generation of iPhones that have the lidar capabilities. For those not familiar with lidar, you probably it's a technology that's been around for a long time. Very very popular these days in the field of things like archaeology, where they scan the desert and they can kind of detect shapes and define hidden pyramids and all kinds of things like that, that have been buried in the sand. And so essentially, it's the same tech here that Apple's sort of built into their latest devices. And so you're using that to essentially scan this body and then create a geometric pattern shape based on that. That's pretty close to what your actual body is. So I like that they're doing that, and they're kind of using that tech to sort of build you that profile that can give you that fit match essentially. Which is pretty cool. And from a SavageXFenty perspective, I like that this is their first physical retail store, and that they're like starting big with a bang and having really cool innovative tech in there, and then plan to replicate that across the board. I also like that they're investing in tech at the same time, and they're not just sort of staying on the pure retail side. And I love the what you alluded to there with the the Jamaican connection, and it's drawing at my Caribbean roots, my Guyanese heritage as well. So I like that. So well done.
I think just one other thing I wanted to add is that I really love that. I think this ties back into really part of the brand as Savage X Fenty in particular, because when they launched a few years ago, it was one of the first, runway shows that we saw women of all shapes and sizes walking the runway and all of this lingerie. And so I think that this really ties back into that core message that, women of all shapes and sizes, or anyone who wants to wear, some type of undergarment and lingerie and feel good about themselves and confident and sexy, can have something that fits them. And so I think that this is not only like, yeah, it's great, it's cool, it's helpful, good technology, but it ties back into really who they are at their core as a brand. So I love that as well.
All right. All right. Our final story now, staying with retail. On a bigger scale now, we're talking about shopping malls here. And a company called Placewise, which has been around the LBMA community for a long time, has announced a partnership with a company called Bambuser. That's Bambuser. And I'm really, really excited about the story, because I think it's something different and new in using technology that's been around for a little while. So, we're all familiar with e-commerce shopping and going online and buying things, and having trouble finding the right fit and all that kind of stuff. But what I haven't seen before, and what I think is really interesting with what they're doing here, is they're taking that into the physical shopping mall, and they're saying, okay, we're teaming up with shopping malls. They've partnered with the corners of Brookfield in Wisconsin and Cuban Henfoss, which is a mall in Norway so far. And essentially all the tenants, all the retailers in the mall can kind of come on board, and they equip them with e-commerce, storefronts, so they can sell their stuff to people. But what's the interesting part of this is that they essentially then live stream the mall out to people at home. And so you get you can stay, at your desk or your on your laptop and kind of, be transported to the mall and actually see what's happening physically in the mall and see the store and see things like that, and then actually shop, and make purchases that way. So I think this is really, a neat way for malls to sort of connect digitally with a new audience potentially, and maybe a new demographic that they haven't been working with before. Bambuser, the company that they've partnered with here, they've got a lot of experience working with Ted Baker and Clinique and cosmetics brands like Shiseido and folks like that, doing this kind of thing. So I think it's really interesting, and to sort of back that up, they found like huge numbers with this already. So they said typically they're getting 27% average chat engagement, 15% added to their cart rate, increase in the cart rate, and viewers on the live stream are normally staying on the site for at least 9 minutes. So I think that's interesting, right? Like I think that speaks to something that's a different way to engage with a physical property in a big shopping mall with multiple tenants, who all have virtual storefronts essentially here, but to do that in a live streamed environment. And Bambuser and Placewise get a sort of fixed fee monthly SaaS type model from each tenant. That's each mall partner is how they do this. So I think this is interesting. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I love this. I love the idea of going to the mall while I'm on my sofa in my sweatpants. I think that's amazing. And I, of course, I love the data points that you mentioned about the 15% increase in basket size and, the 9 minutes. That's 9 extra minutes from somebody who wasn't going to go to the mall, who now has virtually gone to the mall. And I think that's amazing as well. I feel that this is really the beginning of something. And one thing that I've always thought about this type of an application was actually in the supermarket. So, whenever I go to the grocery store, I certainly have like my list of things I have to get in the staples, but I always like looking at, what's new, what are the new cheeses that are, that I see, or something that I want to try that's new. So the idea of kind of virtually walking through the aisles for me would go beyond the typical like Instacart or Fresh Direct type of a delivery thing where I'm just searching and adding things to my list, right? Or going through and doing my regular shopping. So I love this because I think it opens up that opportunity to say, I'm not just going to go through like everything on the Zara website, but now I can actually like walk into Zara, look around, see what's on the mannequin, see what I want to look at, and then perhaps, add that to my shopping cart. And then if we could just get the fit match tied right into it, man, how would that be amazing?
That would be cool. That would be cool.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, no, I think it's great, and it reminded me when you just said about grocery. If you remember, way back in the early days of the LBMA, there's that case study we were showing in China where they created virtual grocery stores in essentially augmented reality, and you could hold up your phone and you could walk into a virtual grocery store and go down each shelf in each aisle and shop directly from it. And that was like 9 years ago, something like that. So. The tech is there, right? It's, all this tech is, it's, maybe FitMatch the exception, but most of this tech is been around for a while, right? It's how do we find ways to apply it that are innovative and interesting and effective, right? And I think this is a good example of that. So there you go. All right, that's our show for this week. So you've been listening to episode number 554 of Location Weekly. Thank you so much for your time. Please reach out to us if you have story ideas or feedback. Give us some likes and some love on whatever platform you're consuming this. And we'll see you next week for another show. Have a great week, everybody. Bye.